What's up, guys? It's Coach Gaglione. It's another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. I got a special guest on the line today. Tori, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So, also known as the Buff Pear, I'm trying to get you to change the fruit, but that's that's her IG handle. That's what she's known by. So I wanted to have you on today because I think you have a great story to tell. But before we kind of get into that, can you just give the listeners a little bit of background, just like who you are and then like what you got going on right now?
Yeah, I am a certified personal trainer. I specialize in corrective exercise, fitness, nutrition, and senior fitness. And I also work side by side with First Form. And one of my main goals in life is to help as many people as I possibly can, as impactfully as I can. I live in Davis, California with my husband and my cats, and I work full-time at a winery called Turkovich Family Wines in Winters, California.
Very nice. Very cool. So what kind of brought you into fitness, like originally? Talk about that. Maybe just like, I don't know, when was the first time you kind of went into a gym and maybe like kind of take us through like how your kind of, I guess your fitness journey, like how have things progressed from like when you started to like what you're doing right now? Like obviously you've kind of gone through maybe training yourself and now you're, have a kind of a mission to help others. So how did you kind of get started in that?
I originally started back in high school because growing up, I was always a heavier girl. In high school, I kind of got this wild hair at my ass to start P90X, which my grandpa gratefully paid for me. Nice. I completed that, and I felt really, really good about myself. Carried that throughout college. And the first time I ever set foot into a gym was under the wing of a program called Fighter Diet. It's created by Pauline Nardine. She's in Los Angeles. And she had all of these ebooks out, so I started reading and absorbing all the knowledge she was sharing and kind of just went wild from there. After I completed one of her challenges, got my personal training certification, kept going year after year, and then I started powerlifting in about 2018.
Great. So, and what made you want to like try like doing the powerlifting? Like, what was kind of the inspiration there?
I was actually very anti-powerlifting, coming fresh off of a personal training certification. I was like, I don't know what these people are doing. Their bodies aren't supposed to move like that. They're all going to get hurt. But my husband had been invited to Super Training Gym to work out with his buddy Marcus, because we used to work out together. He's known as Filipino Thunder on Instagram. And once Super Training moved to their new location in Sacramento, I decided, I'll go see what they're doing for one day. It was still barren, looks nothing like it does now. And I was there, and the first thing I did was try a sumo deadlift, because I thought that's what powerlifters did. And, of course, Mark Bell was there. I didn't really know who he was. He came over, helped me out, and he taught me how to sumo deadlift. He's like, all right, here's what you want to do. Fix it up. And then I decided, all right, I'll try powerlifting. I'll try it. But I'm not going to let my feet turn out. I'm not going to arch my bench. I'm going to merge it with my personal training and figure out my own way.
Very cool. So that's very, very, very interesting. So obviously it's like since then, I know you've done a couple of competitions, and so what was there any like kind of moment where you kind of felt like powerlifting started to grow on you, or maybe I don't know, like when did you kind of decide you actually wanted to do like a meet, and was there any like kind of I guess moment where you kind of decided that you wanted to maybe put a little bit more effort into getting strong and actually competing?
Working out at Super Training, everybody's kind of got the same drive, and everybody is working towards something. So I was just kind of hanging out, and when I first started, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try a meet. I didn't have a coach, and I like to say my first powerlifting meet, I wasn't even really a powerlifter. I just went in with what I learned from personal training, trying to lift as much as I possibly could. And after I did my first one, I was hooked. And I was like, all right, I did this on my own. I wonder how much I could do actually having a coach. Because as I watched everybody lift, I realized there's a lot of nuances to powerlifting that people don't understand.
Yeah.
And if I could actually team up with somebody and learn from them, like learn from somebody who does this professionally, I might actually have a chance. I actually might do well.
Absolutely. And then what was it like kind of, I guess, transitioning to, you're going from doing a video workout at home, just kind of maybe by yourself, kind of watching like these I don't know if it was still a VHS tape or a DVD or what you were what you were watching. But you go from doing P90X and now like you're in, I would say probably one of the more, well-known kind of, powerlifting and strength training gyms like in the country. You have some people like really throwing some big weights around in there. So what was it like kind of transitioning from kind of maybe training and exercising by yourself to actually, training in a more like team environment with people spotting and helping each other and just kind of being, like I said, you mentioned being in an environment where people are kind of more driven and like-minded. So what was that like transition like?
It was slow at first. Because I was holding back. Like, I was worried. Like, I didn't really understand this group of people or why they were yelling, how loud they were, or how intense they were being. Like I could understand the intensity because I'm highly competitive myself, but I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if I'll ever, like, sniff that stuff before I go up to the lift. I don't know if I'll need to, like, mentally prepare for that long before I lift some weight. Like, it's just, wait, lift it. But the really cool thing about super training is everybody was really accepting. And the more you started to show up, the more they started to talk to you, the more they offer you advice and to help you, and they kind of welcome you in. So I went from being like this, I guess, normal person at the gym to now being a part of this team and being able to learn and grow with them. I still have my own style. I'm definitely not a rage lifter, but it's been a really cool transition.
I like that you said that you still have your own style, because I think sometimes people think they need to like kind of emulate their favorite lifter, and I think there's a lot of different approaches that can work, and whatever kind of works for you that helps get you focused and mentally prepared. Just having a consistent process that allows you to stay grounded, allows you to stay focused, I think that's great, and I like that it was kind of a slower transition. I think a lot of people also think they might need a coach right away, and they have to like kind of get all the special gear and get like all this crazy stuff, but you just started slow, and then eventually you kind of, like you said, did your first meet, you got hooked, and then you kind of progressed from there. I also wanted to highlight too, because I think, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like kind of the first time that we had met officially was at one of the Super Training Classic meets, or one of the push-pull meets that they were doing, and I think you were also volunteering to help out. So what has it been like also, like, not only just competing, but also kind of helping run like some of these events? Because one of the things I do want to highlight for people that are getting into powerlifting, I think it's also important that if you are on a team or not, it is important to kind of give back as you kind of, get more involved with the sport. So maybe you can kind of talk about that a little bit, like what your experience is also like volunteering and then helping others, and some of these events are pretty huge, and we get some pretty, high level people there. So what has that been like for you?
It's been a really rewarding experience. Usually, I'll always offer to spot, but they're never really like, oh, you can spot and load. Usually that's my husband or my brother-in-law who's doing that. So I'm kind of running around in the back, checking in with members of the team, or, fellow competitors, just answering questions. Or if you see somebody who's getting ready to go up and squat and they don't have a shirt on, and they're SPF, they're like, hey, kind of gently go in, like, I'm not sure if you know this, but you need to wear a shirt for this lift. And usually they're really grateful, they're really accepting. But I just play a lot of video recording for various people on the team and people who are newer to the sport, because everybody wants somebody to cheer for them. Everybody wants to have videos, and after that, we just all clean up. Yeah, so I contribute where I can. I'm not the main contributor, but
I think my point is, I think every little bit helps. I don't think people realize like what goes into a meet, and I know like personally, one of the things that I appreciate when I did some of Jesse Burdick's meets. I've coached at a bunch of Jesse Burdick's meets, and then some of the events that Mark and Super Training has put on as well. I always appreciate that there's like people helping you in the back, There's people helping you, navigate, whether I'd be coaching or whether I'd be, lifting myself. I always felt, like I said, that welcome feeling, and it's nice to get, not every meet you get like help in the back. Not every meet you have somebody kind of like looking out for you and stuff. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's something that if someone's listening to this recording, they could like learn if they do want to put on a contest or, or just kind of just some ways that we can kind of make the sport better. Cause I don't think every event is like that all the time. Some are definitely different. Some kind of expect you to kind of know, like I said, some of the rules and stuff, and you kind of just have to like figure it out. So it is nice to kind of have someone point you out and kind of steer you in the right direction, because we do want to have people, have a good first experience with an event like that. So I think that's great. So one of the reasons I had you on here, and so this will hopefully be like the meat of the discussion. I think you've had a really amazing kind of transformation in terms of like your body composition, but you're also continuing to kind of push your numbers up. You're continuing to perform well and get stronger. So I wanted to, you can kind of start off wherever you feel is appropriate, but I wanted to kind of maybe let the listeners know a little bit about like your weight loss journey, or whatever you want to call it, but your body transformation, and then maybe talk about what kind of gave you, I guess, the idea to kind of get started with that, and then how has that been kind of going, and just kind of get the ball rolling with just talking about like how that got started.
Well, since probably about high school, I've been your typical yo-yo dieter where I could lose 20 pounds, be solid for a few months, few weeks, and then it would all come back. That happened year after year. In, I want to say, about 2015 is when I came upon Fighter Diet and actually joined the gym for the first time, like set foot into a gym. I won their transformation challenge, and I lost 24 pounds, and I was the leanest I'd ever been in my life. Probably, like, besides now, that's 18.5% body fat. And I felt phenomenal. But again, I didn't establish any of the mental background that you needed to actually maintain something like that. Like, nobody really tells you what happens when you lose that much weight and how it screws with you mentally. And I feel like a lot of places don't actually focus on the mental transformation as much as the physical one. The same thing year after year, and it wasn't until actually last year I've been doing challenges. I've always worked out, and I've always tried to eat relatively clean, but the weight was just hanging on. It wasn't until last year that Andy Frisella came out with a program called 75 Hard, and what it is it's a 75-day boot camp into a mental toughness program called Live Hard. And what 75 Hard did for me was give me the structure to build the mental fortitude, discipline, and grit that I needed to actually maintain my lifestyle, maintain my weight loss. So here I am a year later, first time in my life I've ever maintained a weight loss over 25 pounds and have kept going.
Amazing. Yeah, I've experienced that with myself. I've kind of probably like lost the first 40, 50, 60 pounds like a few times, and now I'm, also been able to kind of keep it off successfully, and I'm still kind of going strong. What specifically in that program do you feel like helped you, I guess, build the habits or build the skill? For those that are not familiar, I mean, if you want to kind of go through like what the rules are, that I think that'd be a good place to start. And then, was there anything in particular? Well, we'll do one question at a time. I'm getting ahead of myself. So maybe you can go through like the rules a little bit, and then we can kind of maybe talk about some of like the habits that were built from those guidelines.
Okay. So 75 Hard has 5 rules, or 5 tasks, that you have to complete day in and day out for 75 days. If you mess up on one of the tasks, you're done. You restart over at day 1. Task number 1 is to follow a diet. Whatever your diet is, stick to it for 75 days. Don't change it. Don't cheat. In following that diet, there is no alcohol and there are no cheat meals. Number 2 is 2 45-minute workouts. One of those workouts has to be outdoors, no matter what the weather or what the climate is. Unless there's like a sudden lightning, don't go out in lightning and get yourself killed or something. But if it's raining, if it's snowing, you go outside and you finish your workout. Three is you have to drink a gallon of water every day, 128 ounces, no excuses. That does not include Crystal Light packets. It needs to be pure water.
Harder than it sounds.
Yeah. Take a progress picture every day. You don't have to post these publicly. They are for you. I always tell people the more skin you show, the more change you're going to see. This isn't a physical transformation challenge, but you're going to kick yourself in the ass if you take a picture in a sweater at the very beginning because your physical transformation is going to be wild. And the last one is 10 pages of reading every single day, and it has to be a personal development or entrepreneurship book, and it cannot be an audiobook. So it's pretty intense, and some people will be like, oh, that sounds easy, but there are different aspects of it that are hard for everybody. Ironically, I thought no alcohol was going to be the easiest one for me because I don't drink very much at all, but I work in a winery, and my dumb self got caught up trying to taste wine one day to make sure that it was appropriate to serve to a customer, and I was out of the game, just like that.
So I think that kind of leads into the next question. Like, what were some kind of challenges that you faced? And like, because I know, like, I think the first time I tried, I would get to like 14 or like 21 days, and then like something would like happen. I would go try something, start over. What are some challenges that you faced personally? And then what kind of tips do you have for people that maybe find themselves, whether they're doing this challenge or not, they're kind of like just getting stuck on, one of those tasks?
The biggest challenge for me in 75 Hard has always been absent-mindedness. Like, I just have this thing operating in the background of my mind, like, yeah, I can do this, I know how to do this, and I'm not checking off every item in the list. I've gone to bed like, yeah, I drank my gallon of water or something, and I'd wake up next day and I've got like 16 ounces in there because I screwed off because I was so convinced and cocky that I had done what I needed to do. Same thing with the progress picture, I've taken it. So that's always been a struggle for me. So I need the structure. I need to mark off the things on the list, and I need to make sure that I've done it. And for other people who do it, whether it's 75 Hard or anything else, it's all in the details. You have to pay attention to the details. You have to make sure you're doing what you said you were actually going to do and checking off the list. Don't keep putting it off. Like, the best time to start is right now. The longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be, especially if you're starting day one or you're on day 5 of 75 Hard. You put off those workouts, you're not going to have a good time. You do have until you go to bed to finish everything, but
yeah. So as far as getting that structure, do you have any tips for people that, like, do you organize that ahead of time? Did you kind of like start to kind of plan these things out day by day, or did you kind of look at it like how did you kind of like look at each day? Did you try to like before you go to bed try to figure out like where you're going to put everything in like the next day, or how did you kind of go about structuring like whether it be the workouts, the eating, or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, for me, I always had a powerlifting workout going, so I usually have one workout planned for me. The only other one I have to worry about is my outdoor workout. I kind of like to eat on the go. It's kind of ironic. I'm following a very structured program, but I don't have a whole lot of structure outside of that, which is what I'm working really hard to build outside of it. But I will now take my progress picture every morning when I wake up, and I'll personally post it on my Instagram feed to make sure I don't miss it because I'm tracking it now because I'm tired of failing because of that. Usually in the morning, I'll read 10 pages or I'll read 10 pages before I go to bed, and then I just try to hit my outdoor workout usually on my lunch break at work. Since we're all in quarantine now, I'm trying to get it in before dinner. That way I can come home and reward myself with food. But the main thing I do is I just keep it on my screensaver.
Nice.
Like all the rules, all the tasks.
Awesome.
Before I go to bed every night, I visually look at it and I check off the tasks.
I think that's a great tip to kind of like have anchors, whether it be on your phone, on your fridge, your bathroom mirror, just someplace where you're going to like consistently see it like every single day. Obviously, the phone's definitely a good one because everyone's picking that thing up. I don't know how many times we pick it up a day, but everyone's different. But I'm sure it's a bunch. So if you can kind of physically see that every day and have some sort of reminder to like keep you on track, I think that's big. And to your point, like you start to get in these habits. I know, like with myself, in the beginning, the water was a big one. So I usually just as soon as I wake up, I have like a liter, liter of water. Excuse me, like a liter of water, and I'll have another liter of water after my workout, and then I'm kind of like halfway through my gallon, and it's whatever 8 in the morning or something like that. So you start to kind of figure out like everyone's going to be different, like you said, like maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe for some other people it's the workout. Like the workout probably for us is like not as big a deal because that's something we're kind of like doing already. Everyone else is going to be different. Some people it might be the diet, some people it might be the reading. Like I know, like for me, like sitting down and reading a book versus like listening to an audio is more challenging. I could probably listen to a podcast a lot easier than I can sit down and read. So you start to kind of figure out like where your shortcomings are, and I think that's some really good advice. Going through the challenge and completing it, and then moving forward. Have you besides like you can kind of talk about your physical transformation, but what other kind of habits and things have you kind of noticed within yourself that you've kind of developed, through like kind of going through the program?
I've got completing 75 hours for the first time was almost like finding myself again, like rekindling like this intense competitive person that was inside of me that was lacking structure for countless years of her life. My brain just blanked. Remind me of the question. I was about to go off on a tangent.
No, it's okay. I know you said that like this was almost like kind of like completing the challenge, almost like finding yourself again, and it kind of rekindled a fire in you. I might have paraphrased that a little bit, and I said, and my original question was like, what?
The habits. Gotcha.
What habits have you kind of built from it? Yeah.
It really reinstilled this kind of do it anyway mentality. Like, you need to get it done. Don't make compromises. Stop giving yourself excuses. Like, you just did this program. Anything less is bullshit. And that's kind of like the dark secret of 75 hard once you finish it. Like, you feel kind of lost when you aren't doing those tasks. And it is a little bit scary because you're just sitting there and you're like, all right, how am I going to keep going? But you can't rely on this program anymore unless you restart it, and you have to figure out where you're going to go in life. How are you going to implement that structure? And, I tried, and I was like, all right, I'm going to read 10 pages and drink a gallon and do this every day. But the motivation just wasn't the same, and I kind of felt like an imposter when I wasn't doing it. So I had to really step back, take a look, and reorganize my life and reassess my priorities. So I definitely need the water in there. I definitely needed the workout in there. And I had to keep going, and I had to create that structure. It forced me to create more structure where I didn't have it because I was missing it. And I knew I wasn't performing where I should be without it.
One of the things I like about like the program, it is so restrictive in some ways, and that kind of forces you to kind of, like I said, be more structured, like you said. And I like the fact that if it's important, like you're going to do this every single day. And I think that's going to really build the discipline over time. It just kind of gets you. And sometimes there's going to be some days where, like you said, you probably want to go to bed and maybe you haven't checked off one of the boxes, but you just kind of find a way to get it done. And I think that's like really, it's rewarding, and it just kind of forces you to not put things off. I think that's amazing. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit. So we have a lot of powerlifting like listeners, of course. So you've lost some weight, you've gotten leaner, and I know even myself, I've been there. Some people might be kind of afraid that they're going to like lose a lot of strength, and maybe they want to look better, they want to be healthier, but maybe they're concerned about how that's going to affect their performance. And I know personally, again, I don't know what all your numbers were before and after, and like where you started and where you are, but I did remember seeing, I think you can kind of correct me when I'm wrong, but like even after the transformation, I think maybe you hit your first 300-pound squat or something like that. So I don't know if there was certain. So maybe you can kind of talk about like since your body has changed, obviously, I'm sure like lifting feels different. So maybe kind of talk about some of like the physical and mental challenges that you had to overcome is in terms of powerlifting after like having some of the weight loss, and then maybe, I guess, some tips both physically and mentally that you can give people that are like looking to kind of have that balance of aesthetics and still have performance. So maybe kind of talk about that a little bit.
Well, kind of like when I came into powerlifting with the form, I've always been a little bit of a rebel. I've personally, and I know people are going to come after me for this, I've never bought into the idea that, fat moves weight. Like, no, they're like mass moves mass. You have to be big. You have to lift heavy. If you lose weight, you're going to lose all of your lift.
Yeah.
So when I went into this journey, I was in meet prep, and I was talking to my coach, and I was doing 75 hard, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this stuff. He's like, all right, but if your lift starts to suck, we're changing it. I was like, okay. So it was like a challenge that I had to accept. The hardest thing about losing weight, like my lifts didn't suffer in the sense that people think they suffered, like where I lost strength. Like I was supplementing with creatine, I was eating as clean as I possibly could, I was following a meal plan, so I had proper fuel for all my workouts. The hardest thing about that was my body was physically changing, so the positioning on my lift was changing, which made me feel weaker, although I wasn't. And once I figured that out and I could readjust my body, everything started going up again. I was essentially, like when I first started learning how to powerlift, I was trying to lock in form. It felt like I was doing that all over again, right? Because my feet would change just like a half inch, or my bench would change, and I couldn't arch anymore because my butt was disappearing, and it was just, that was the hardest thing about it. And mentally, I think you have to tell yourself that you're gonna work through it. You don't have to buy into what people are feeding you. If you're giving your body enough protein, you're eating enough calories, you can perform.
Cool. If someone's maybe like on the fence of kind of getting started, whether it be a weight loss journey or powerlifting or anything like that, like what kind of advice do you have somebody that maybe like is on the fence of kind of, starting their fitness journey? Like what advice can you kind of give to someone who's just brand new and they're just starting out for the first time?
Look for people who have done what you're trying to do, and then follow them. Reach out to them and ask for help. Don't follow people who haven't done what you're trying to do. Like, if you've got 80 pounds to lose, go find somebody who's lost 80 pounds. Or go find somebody who's got the background and the education who can actually get you there, instead of listening to your aunt, cousin, uncle. Because those people aren't going to give you the support system you need. Because when you're making a transformation like that, whether you're trying to go up on your lifts, you're doing 75 hard, or you're losing a lot of weight, you need a strong support system and people who believe in you and know that it can be done. Because people along the way are going to constantly tell you, you can't do that. They're going to ask you why you're doing that, and you're going to try and pressure you to do things that they're doing because it makes them uncomfortable that you're going to succeed. So you have to surround yourself with the right people.
Awesome. And then any kind of encouragement, words of wisdom, or just advice for someone that wants to kind of take on this 75 hard challenge? Any advice for people that are looking to challenge themselves and start that?
If you're going to do 75 hard, just go for it. Take it all in one. Don't create your own program. Don't baby step it. Like, you give it.
You can't you can't. So you saying that they can't have a cheat meal? Not one.
No, you start over at day one. There is no, like, everybody tells me, like, oh, I just couldn't do it without the alcohol. Maybe I'll just start outdoor workouts and add in this stuff. And it's like, no. If you aren't going to do the program,
just do the program.
Don't do it. If you're going to do it, then do it and give it all you got, and it's going to be the best thing you've ever done in your entire life.
Yeah, I love it. I think one thing, I've definitely gotten a little softer in my I guess the last couple of years of coaching, trying to be more accommodating, trying to be more flexible. But I do think there is a point where sometimes you got to just say no, and you just got to just do it. You just got to get it done. I think sometimes we're too, we try to be too accommodating sometimes. And sometimes the answer is listen, this is the plan. And if this is what you want, you just got to follow the plan. And sometimes it's as simple as that. but just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it's easy. So awesome. I think that's a good place to kind of, I guess we'll put a button on it or a bow on it. I don't even know it's getting late. It's getting late over here. I don't know what the expression is, but Tori, I really appreciate you coming on. It was great chatting with you. I know it's been a minute since I've been on the West Coast. I was actually supposed to be going out to beautiful San Diego later this month. Later this month for the U.S. Open, but that got postponed. So, anyways, I'm sure I'll be back at some point once this thing blows over. But for people that maybe want to follow along on your fitness journey, where can they find more about you?
I am at the Buff Pear on Instagram, which I don't plan to change that handle anytime soon. And I've also got a website called healthymusclehustle.com.
Okay.
On Facebook as well.
So you'll send me that because I was not aware of the website, but I'll definitely put your Instagram handle and website in the show notes as well. I really appreciate you coming on. If this podcast helped you, please give it a 5-star review. It helps other people find us. You guys could check out the links mentioned in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.